till I find my way back home.
I'm walking, years indeed, I'm talking, but you and me, I'm hoping.
Hello friends, this is Tim Corbin from Captain Cloud Productions, and what I have for you here is actually a continuation of a production that I created last year called My 2024 U.S. Hiking Journey, which was our first travelogue video and geared primarily towards my fellow hiking enthusiast friends. And in a nutshell, what that was about was I left my Southern California home in my camper van and I went from coast to coast all the way back to New York and stopped and had a lot of fun doing a lot of things along the way. And one project I was primarily focused on was this hiking journey where as I traveled, I stopped and visited and stayed at 10 different national parks where I hiked 16 different trails within them. And these were all trails that I found on a list recommending the best 100 hikes in the national parks. Now the reason why this is a continuation from that is because, as I stated at the conclusion of that production, it remained incomplete. It remained incomplete because the last leg of that journey, before returning back to my Southern California home, I planned on spending the last week of it in the state of Utah, where I would stay at 4 different national parks and hike 8 of their trails. But unfortunately, by the time I made it to Utah, it was mid-October, well past summer, and as I learned, the Utah weather in October is not very hiker-friendly. So as it was, there was only one of those 4 national parks that had hikeable weather. That was Zion National Park, because it was at the very south end of the state there, out of the frozen mountain range. So this year I decided out the gate to go to Utah first instead of last, because I figured that the Utah weather in June is a lot more hiker-friendly than it is in October. So I was set to pick up where I left off and knock off those trails that I couldn't make it to last year. However, before leaving, I did a little precursor hike just like I did last year. Before leaving last year, there was a couple of trails on that top 100 list that was nearby. I live adjacent to the Joshua Tree National Park, so I went in there and hiked a couple of their recommended trails. And so this year what I did was, it was about a 4-hour drive, about 250 miles north of me is Death Valley National Park, where there they had 4 different trails on that top 100 list. So that was my precursor this year before hitting the road to Utah. So what can I tell you about Death Valley National Park? It's one that you want to be very selective on what time of year you visit it, because it's considered in the summer months to be among the hottest places on Earth. I visited in early May and I was fine. Death Valley National Park has 4 trails listed in the top 100 most recommended hikes. But one of them, known as Telescope Peak, I knew that was off limits before I even came here. Telescope Peak Trail is listed as a hard hike on the difficulty level that is 12.2 miles long. Now, as I covered in last year's hiking journey documentary, while in Shenandoah National Park and scrambling over some rocks, I dislocated my shoulder for the second time within a few days and had to be rushed to the hospital. And so from that point forward, I decided to avoid any more hard hikes on the difficulty level and avoid any possible consequences like that. And I have since had shoulder surgery done where I had total reconstructive surgery earlier this year, and I'm still on the mend from that. And at this point, I am willing to try some hard hikes on the difficulty level as long as they're within a reasonable hiking time, which for me is about 2 to 3 hours. But when I see 12.2 miles, I'm like, all right, that's at least 4 or 5 hours, so that ain't happening. But the main reason why I knew to avoid this is because the reviews all highly suggest using a 4-wheel drive vehicle to access the trailhead. And the first thing that I thought of is that the last hike that I took on last year's journey, as documented, in Zion National Park in Utah, I had to take my big old van down this unpaved road with a bunch of big erosion cracks in it, and I did suffer some front-end damage before I got out of there. So when I read that a 4-wheel drive is recommended, right away I'm avoiding it. However, the other 3 were all very easy, very short hikes. None of them took more than 30 to 45 minutes, no more than a mile or 2 out and back. The first one, called Badwater Salt Flat, as you can see, was quite populated. And interestingly, this Badwater Basin is the lowest point in all of North America. It sits 282 feet below sea level, and the Salt Flats Trail runs right through it. Well, here, folks. I'm here in Death Valley National Park at the Badwater Salt Flat. Quite a popular trail, obviously.
They say you just go out like about a mile, you go a mile and back. It takes about 35 minutes. So let's see what these, now of course I'm shooting this from my van. I parked here at the trailhead. Pretty hard here. Anyway, softer in other places.
The second trail that I hiked actually wasn't a trail at all, the Mesquite Flats Sand Dunes. It's all sand dunes, so there's no defined trail. You kind of create your own as you go out and back. Another easy, well, it's considered moderate because the sand is pretty thick to hike through, but I don't think it took me more than 45 minutes to walk to the end of it and back.
Well, friends, this is the Mesquite Flats Sand Dunes in Death Valley National Park. All sand here. I'm about a mile that way parked in the parking area. But this is the back end here. I walked all the way, it's almost a mile to the back side of the sand dunes here. But yeah, you get some occasional little areas here, I guess, collected water and added like a kind of a hardened clay surface. So I'm seeing these tracks here, wondering what kind of animal left them. And I assume certainly nothing with feet, so I'm assuming that must be like a snake. That looks like probably the belly of a snake there. There's two of them here. One way, one with the other. They have a little rendezvous. That is weird. This one here is the one that looks the most interesting.
The last trail that I hiked in Death Valley National Park is known as Golden Canyon. And that was my favorite of the three. You're walking between two walls almost the entire way. But again, it was an easy, flat, 30 to 45 minutes to walk it.
This is the Golden Canyon. And pretty much the entire trail, the entire hike is this canyon here with walls on both sides of you. Pretty cool. All right, friends, well, I'm at the end of the Golden Canyon Trail in Death Valley National Park, about a mile and a half from the trailhead. And this is what's called the Red Cathedral. And there's a trail up there. I saw some guys who were walking ahead of me. By the time I got up here, they were already up there, walking on that trail. And I'm like, nah, I ain't going up there. Alright, here's where we're at. We're a mile from the Golden Canyon trailhead that I came up. The Red Cathedral. This is what's known as the Red Cathedral Junction right here. Another half mile, that's where I just came from. Here we go. Looks like, and I'm the only vehicle there. That lot was full when I pulled in. I'm lucky I could find a spot.
Okay, so on June the 16th of 2025, I left my Southern California home and made my way to Utah, and my first place of business was the Bryce Canyon National Park, which had snow and was too wet and cold for me to camp and hike here last October. And upon my arrival, I hit what's called the Fairyland Loop Trail. Now, Fairyland Loop is a moderate hike, but it's 8 miles long and takes over 4 hours, which is a bit much for me. I'm good for about 2 or 3 hours at a time. So what I did was I attacked this loop from both ends of it. I started off up at the northern end and did about an hour in and out, and then I drove down to the southern end and did the same thing. And here are the results.
All right, Bryce Canyon National Park. I'm on the Fairyland Loop Trail, which is 8 miles and takes 4 hours. So I'm starting off at the north end, the Fairyland Point, and I'm just going to come 30 minutes out. I've hit that point now, and I'm going to turn around and go back. Then I'm going to go take a drive down to the south end and do the same thing, so I can see both ends of this big loop trail without actually taking the entire loop. But here's where we're at here at my turnaround point. Okay, I am 1.5 miles in on the Fairyland Loop Trail from the south entrance, from the Sunset Point entrance. I've gone 1.5 miles, still working the eastern side. This is what's known as the Tower Bridge Trail. And here's why it's called that. All right, time to make my way back. Time to wake my way back.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
So the following day, I hit what's called the Peekaboo Loop. Now, the Peekaboo Loop Trail is considered a hard hike on the difficulty level. It's 5.25 miles long and takes about 3 to 4 hours to hike. It begins at Bryce Point and then drops quickly down into the canyon floor, so a very steep decline right at the beginning.
I'm about to take the Peekaboo Loop Trail, and this is like the trail ahead right here. There's my van right there, so this should be fun.
Now, I must say, of all of the trails that I hiked this summer, I would rate this one, Peekaboo Loop, right at the top. I mean, it was my favorite of them all. And in Utah, that's really saying something. In fact, according to a ranger there, I'll quote him, "It gets its name Peekaboo Loop from the surprises that await around its many turns and elevation changes." And I found that to be oh so true.
Oh, look at this. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, well, that's where I'm going ultimately. Down there's a tunnel that I went through, or it's more like a bridge. climb this was. Couldn't count how many switchbacks I had to come up, but I'd stop for like 30 seconds at a time at every turn, practically. Couldn't count how many switches. But finally, all these switchbacks took me to here. Oh good, I got some downhill to do now. Trail I was on. Well, you can see it.
So here's the ridge. So the following day, and on my way out of Bryce Canyon National Park, I stopped to hike what's called the Navajo Loop and Queen's Garden Trails. It's two different trails that combined are a loop. Now, as you can see on this map, the Peekaboo Loop Trail that I did the day before is at the lower end of it, and then up the top there, this is the trail that I hiked on this day, the Navajo Loop and Queen's Garden Trail. So they are adjacent to each other.
Okay, so out there you might not be able to see it too well, but that's the Peekaboo Loop Trail that I was on yesterday. In fact, I took my midway break right around over there where you can see those people.
A moderate hike, 3 miles long, and only takes about an hour and a half to complete. So, knowing that this would be a bit of a short hike, I did something unusual on this day. I hiked two different hikes on the same day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, which that's not unusual. But on this occasion, these two hikes were at two different national parks. I left Bryce Canyon National Park after this hike and then made my way on up to Capitol Reef National Park to hit up a couple of their trails.
This is part of the Queen's Trail, which connects to the Navajo Loop that I came down. It also connects to the Peekaboo Loop, the tip of that I hiked yesterday. Wow. Look what we're walking through.
This trail, as you can see, can be a little crowded in some places.
I began this hike at Sunset Point. I'm going to hike the Queen's Trail up to Sunrise Point and then take the rim trail back over. But which is like a half mile.
So after hiking the Navajo Loop, I left Bryce Canyon and headed on up to the Capitol Reef National Park, where the Hickman Bridge Trail awaited me. Hickman Bridge is a moderate hike, just about 1.75 miles long, and it takes less than an hour. That's why I knew I could get it in on the same day as the Navajo Loop hike. Interestingly, here's what greeted me at the trailhead. The challenges to this hike is that it does have a steep incline at the beginning. It had me huffing and puffing there for a few. And there is a lack of shade, so be aware of that. This is a very educational hike in that there are brochures at the trailhead that you take with you, and there are 17 different stops, what they call interpretive zones, where these brochures will explain to you what's what. It has to do with the local cultural and human history there. I guess several hundred years ago there were some Indians that lived and occupied the land, and there are still some historical artifacts and remnants of their existence that are there today. I should point out that there was a second trail that I was here to hike called the Cassidy Arch Trail. I was going to hit that the following morning, but as I discovered, the road to the trailhead was closed. And the rangers there did say that there was another trail that would take me to it, but it was twice the distance and would take twice as long. So I just put it on my come back and do it another time list. There are a few trails around America that are on that list. So after Capitol Reef, I headed on up to Arches National Park. Now, when I came through here last October, and I was coming in from the Colorado side then, but it wasn't the weather conditions that kept me out like the other parks did. As I learned upon arrival, Arches National Park is the only national park that I've ever been to where you have to have reservations just to get in. Never mind camping reservations. I wasn't planning on staying overnight, but I learned at the gate that you have to have reservations to get in, so that's why I'm here now. They give you like a 1 hour window period here. You can't get here before that hour or after it, but within that 1 hour period of your reservation is the only time you can get in. Now, once inside, I made my way to the Delicate Arch Trail. Now, Delicate Arch is Utah's most recognizable natural arch. It's on all their license plates, on all the cars here. The Delicate Arch Trail, it's moderately challenging, 3¼ miles, takes about an hour and a half to complete. And you should know that there's no shade along the trail. So bring plenty of water, a good shade hat, and some proper footwear because there's some slick rocks there, especially as you approach the arch itself. It can be rather dangerous, so proceed with caution.
When I kissed you, girl, I knew how sweet a kiss could be. I know how sweet a kiss can be. sunshine, pour your sweetness over me. Pour your sweetness over me. Oh, sugar, sugar on me, honey. Pour your sugar on me, baby.
Life so sweet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pour your sugar on me. Oh, yeah. Pour your sugar on me, honey. Pour your sugar on me, baby.
I'm gonna make life so sweet.
Yeah, pour your sugar on me, honey. Ah, sugar. Honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting.
Just leaving the delicate arch.
So because the delicate arch was only an hour and a half, I knew I had plenty of hiking energy left, so I made my way over to the Devil's Garden Trail. Now, Devil's Garden is a hard hike on the difficulty level, and it's 8 miles long. So I knew I was only going to catch a portion of it. I hiked until the trail started becoming sparse and difficult, so I probably went like 30 to 45 minutes out. But what's interesting about this trail, so I've been told, is that there are several arches along it, but I only went as far as the first one, which is called Landscape Arch, and here it is.
Well, folks, this is what's called Landscape Arch on the Devil's Garden Trail within the Arches National Park, which is within the state of Utah. It's supposed to be a 8-mile hike, and I figured I'm only going to do 2 or 3 because I already did a 3.5-mile hike before I came up here today. So here we are. Let's see what else we have in this trail.
And she told me I could. I asked to see her and she told me I could. Something tells me I'm into something good. Something tells me I'm into something. Something tells me I'm into something. I walked her home and she held my hand. I knew it couldn't be just a one night stand.
This trail, as you can see, can be a little crowded in some places.
I asked to see her and she told me I could. Something tells me I'm into something good. Something tells me I'm into something. Something tells me I'm into something good. Something tells me I'm into something good. Oh yeah, something tells me I'm into something good. Something good.
I'm walking, years indeed, I'm talking. But you and me, I'm hoping that you come back to me.
So there you have it, folks. Another 4 national parks visited and another 9 trails hiked, which brings my total since last year to 14 national parks visited and 25 trails hiked. Imagine 25 out of that top 100 most scenic hikes list. I've only seen a quarter of the most beautiful hikes in America. So obviously there's more to come, and let's see where next year's travels are going to take me to. I'll keep you posted. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk soon. Take care now. Bye.
Bombadita, 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 bombadita,
Until
bombadita,
we meet
bombadita,
again.
bombadita,
Happy trails to you.
bombadita, bombadita,
Keep smiling
bombadita,
until then.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather.
Happy trails to you. Till we meet again.